Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Z and I'm a Canadian Pakistani cinematographer. And if you're not new here, you're probably realizing that the lighting setup in my studio looks a bit different than previous videos. That's because I'm actually using the Godox Liteflow system to light my space today. I will be making a separate video on how I did this. I had a lot of fun setting up these mirrors to light the space. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and I'll be dropping that video very, very soon. Now, if you don't know what the Godox Liteflow system is, they're an alternative to the CRLS Lightbridge system, and both of those are specialized mirrors used to reflect light. I did do a part 1 on the system. I'll link it in the description below, but essentially that just goes over the kit, what's included. And today's video is going to be a little bit more in depth. I'm going to be talking about why to use them on set, how we use them on set, and the pros and the cons of using a system like this. So let's get into it. Okay, so first off, this isn't going to be a lighting breakdown. I'm specifically just going to be talking about the mirrors that we used in these scenes and how we use them. If you are interested in a lighting breakdown for these particular scenes, let me know and I'm happy to do another video on them. Okay, so the first scene that we have here is the mom and her son sitting on the floor playing with some toys. We have them in a bit of a silhouette, and to achieve this, what we did is that we used the number 3 large mirror, which is the 2x2 mirror that we have, and the number 3 gives you a soft diffused look. Okay, so we have a Godox 1200 by and an aperture 600D, both set to 100%. So we have 1800 watts of light shining into this mirror. Okay, so again, we really wanted a soft diffused look to create this silhouette, and we did that by using the number 3. We didn't want harsh sunlight coming in. That wasn't the look that we were going for, and that's what makes this Godox system so great, is that you can just swap out these mirrors to choose whatever type of look that you're going for. If you wanted a hard light, we could have done that by using the number 1, but our goal here was really to get a nice diffused light coming in through these curtains and create this silhouette effect. Another advantage for this scene particularly was that the patio wasn't large, so we were able to set up this mirror, get it up high, shine 2 bright lights into it, and get a nice soft look coming in. So that's another big advantage that was really, really helpful for this particular scene. Now, we're actually using 2 more mirrors in this scene as well, and you can see it particularly in this close-up here. So we're using the number 1, both in the medium and small sizes. So again, the number 1 is the hard light, and you can really see that on this floor here, creating these 2 different spots of interest. So it was just so easy to get those 2 up and create that light. So I really, really liked using this. It was so easy just to really maneuver the light and get the mirror exactly where we wanted it. And I think it created this beautiful spots of light that we have here and here. So again, very versatile, very easy to just put them up and create points of interest into your scene. Okay, so the next scene I want to highlight is this shot of the record player, and then we have this strip of lighting that you can kind of see going this way. And for this, we're using the number 4 Godox. So the number 4 is the strip of light. So this was just such an easy way to get a strip of light going through our scene. Now, what was great about this is that we had a very large light coming through the window. And all we did was set up the mirror on the other side of the scene to get this strip of light. We didn't have to set up another light. We just had to set up this very lightweight mirror, boom it down, and create this look, which I think just turned out so nice. So again, we have a large key light coming in this way, and all we did was set up a mirror, the number 4, and we got this strip of light just shining through the scene, which gave it a little bit more character, and again was so easy just to set up and very quick to do. Another advantage, but again, I'll get into the pros of this system very, very soon. Okay, so the next scene here, we have our talent putting on some shoes. So essentially for this scene, when we had set this up, we really wanted to create an edge on this scene. So you can see here that we have a bit of an edge or a hair light on this scene, and that was created using the number 2 Godox mirror. So that one's a hard diffuse type of look. It's not quite as hard as number 1, and it's not quite as soft as number 3, but what was great is us being able to quickly put in number 1, and that was a bit too hard for us. We didn't quite like it, so we quickly swapped it for number 2, and then we got a little bit more of a softer edge light that you can see here. So this was very, very versatile and easy to set up. We had a 300 watt spotlight shining into it, and that's what gave us this soft light. Now, I particularly wanted to highlight this scene because the very next shot that we had to do was this overhead shot with this light just beaming through. And all we had to do was swap the number 2 Godox light for the number 4. So again, the number 4 is the strip of light, and that's what created this light just coming in this way. And that was just an easy way for us not to move a lot of things around. All we did was swap that light out, and that gave us that beautiful strip of light. So those were just a few of the scenes that we had a chance to use the mirrors in. But I want to talk about the pros and the cons of using a mirror system like this. Now, the first pro I want to talk about is how easy these are to get into tight spaces. There have been so many times where we were like, I wish we just had a light up there. And it's just so easy just to take one of these lights, put on a clamp, and hang it onto something on the ceiling. There was one instance where we had to hang one of the mirrors off a curtain. So there was no way we could fit a light up there because it was just too heavy. These mirrors weigh almost next to nothing. So they're so easy just to put up into these most unique spaces and just shine a light into them. And it's just such a versatile way when you're shooting in tight spaces or when you're trying to light something very particularly, just to put one of these mirrors up and get the look that you're trying to go for. So that's one of my favorite features about using a system like this, is just how versatile they can be. The second pro I want to highlight is just how easy it is to swap the different strengths and the different sizes out. There have been so many times when we were setting up the mirrors and we didn't like the look, or the mirror was too large. So all we had to do was just quickly swap out the mirrors for a different size or a different strength. It literally just takes seconds to do, and it's much easier to get a different type of look without using different diffusions, different sets of fabrics to get the look that you're going for. It's as simple as just swapping out one mirror for another, and I absolutely loved how many times this came in clutch for us over the last few sets that we were on. Now, the biggest advantage of using a Liteflow system like this is that you get a much softer source of light, and that's essentially because you're doubling the distance of your light source. So as you know, if you want a softer source of light, there's two ways that you can achieve that. The first is by putting diffusion in front of the light, but the second way of doing that is putting your light further away from your subject. So if you have a light that's 5 feet away and you want to soften that light up, what you can do is move the light back to get a softer source of light. For example, you can move your light back 10 feet and you will get a softer source of light onto your subject. But what happens if you can't physically move your light any further? For example, you're in a tight space and there's a wall behind you. Well, what you can do is you can put up a mirror and then shine your light into it. So even though your mirror is 5 feet away, your light source is also 5 feet away, and in turn you're creating a distance of 10 feet just by shining the light into the mirror. And that's one of the key advantages of using a mirror system like this, is that you can double the distance of your light source and therefore make it a softer source. So that was one of the key advantages, especially if you're using very, very small, tight spaces and you can't get your light any further back. It's such an easy way just to put a mirror up somewhere and shine the light from it across the room, and you'll get a very, very soft source if that's the look that you're going for, that is. Another big advantage is just how light these mirrors are. It is so much easier to get one of these mirrors 25 feet up high or hung overhead than it is for any other light. There is just such an advantage being able to quickly put up one of these mirrors. You have less counterweight that you need to use, less sandbags that you need to use. So just overall, it being a lightweight system is such a key advantage and pro of using a system like this. Okay, next I want to talk about the cons of using a mirror system like this. First off, they are so expensive. At the time of writing this video, the Godox Liteflow system cost $2,500 USD. Now that is extremely expensive, and I would recommend not getting these unless you've already built a good lighting kit. It's so much more important to make sure that you have a good lighting kit before you dive into getting these mirrors. Okay, and that brings me into the second con, which is that you need some really powerful lights to use the mirror system. So the first time we used these, we had a 300 watt light shining into one of the mirrors, and it just was not strong enough. We had it set from across the room, shining into the mirror, which was placed on the other side of the room, and the output was just not enough. We ideally needed 600 watts of light shining into the mirror to really get the look that we were going for. So essentially, if you're doubling the distance of your light source, you're losing a lot of output. So that's also something that you need to keep in mind. As much as it is a pro, it's also a con, because you do need some more lights the further you're putting your light sources away. So just for example, if I have this light set up right here, as it gets further away, it is getting softer, but you're also losing strength. So that is something you need to keep in mind. So if you are purchasing these mirrors, I would highly recommend you have some lights that are strong enough to use them. Another con is you really do need a spotlight system to take advantage of using this light, because if you don't, it's very hard to shape the light that you're going for. So we often use the Nanlite spotlight projection mount, and you have the cutters that can specifically put the light exactly where you need it, whereas if you don't have it, you might have a lot of spill. And especially if you're trying to shoot it from across the room, that spotlight comes in really handy to make sure you're not spilling onto the wall. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I do think that is a con, because you need another set of equipment to really take advantage of the system. The last con I want to talk about is I would not recommend this for a one-man crew. They do take some time to set up and finesse, and that's very hard to do if you are by yourself. Essentially, you have to angle the mirrors a specific way to make sure that it's hitting your source. That's much easier when you just have one light pointing, but when you have a mirror, you have to angle it the right way because you're also angling the source of the light as well. And then getting those two angles right does take a little bit of finessing and a little bit more time. So again, not recommended if you're a solo shooter, but if you are on set and you have the available hands, this system is just so much fun to use to light, and I had a great time using them on set, and I will continue to use them because I do think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages for me particularly. Okay, that's all of the pros and the cons I wanted to highlight. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something today, and I'll catch you on the next one.